Hello my bookish lovelies, Kira here, and today I'm going to be talking about all my TBR hopefuls for the month of June, and we're also an announcement for the month of July because I'm very excited about this. So let's go ahead and start out with the month of July announcement because I'm super excited for this. So me and some friends on Twitter, I'm going to link their channels down in the description below, are going to be doing a read-along for the Faithful and the Fallen series. It is a quartet. We're going to be reading the first book, Malice, in the month of July, the second book, Valor, in the month of August, the third book, Ruin, in the month of September, and the fourth book, Wrath. I'm also going to go ahead and link the Twitter page down in the description below as well, just in case you guys want to go ahead and check that out. You don't necessarily have to have a Twitter account in order to check it, but you will if you want updates on it, like, automatically. So I'm really excited for this. This is the same ladies that I participated in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone read-along with, and I'm so excited to be back at it with them again. So this is going to be very exciting. This is an adult epic fantasy, and feel free to join us if you guys are interested in joining us for this. So the ladies that are going to be joining us for this is Sasha from The Wild Sasha, Gabby from Books and Other Nerd Things, and Femka from Bookish Buddies. Please go subscribe to these ladies. They are wonderful. They're so awesome and they're so sweet. Their links for all of their channels are in the description below, and that is going to be the end of the announcement. Please feel free to join us for this. I'm so excited. Now, as far as my TBR goes, I do want to say a few things on my TBR. I know I've been back and forth about whether or not I want to have a TBR, because TBRs are kind of hard to keep, especially if you're somebody who is a huge mood reader like I am. And this is the thing, is I create TBRs with the intention of getting to everything that I read, but it seems as the month goes on, I start to kind of lose my attention span for it. And honestly, I'm not going to force myself to read something if I know that I am not in the mood for it anymore. Honestly, to me, that just feels like it's just the wrong time to read it, and then I'll usually pick up something else. Honestly, for most of the month, I'm really good about sticking to the TBR, but it's usually towards the end of the month that I start to fall off the bandwagon. So what's probably going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and use a lot of these situations as hopefuls to what I hope to read, because the problem is if I don't set any goals for myself as far as the stuff that I want to read, then I usually don't end up getting to then I still don't end up getting to everything that I really want to read, but at least I can get to a few things that are kind of towards the top of my TBR. So I'm kind of at an odds about whether or not TBRs are actually helpful for me, because on one hand, I do end up getting to quite a few books that I really wanted to get to originally, but on the other hand, I stray towards the end of the month. So I'm just going to keep trying it out for a little while longer, because I did try for quite a few months to not have a TBR, and it just didn't really go over very well. And I think another thing too that's kind of been impacting this is that I have been tired because my anemia is still kind of lurking in the background, but I'm also reading a lot slower than I used to. I'm savoring the books a lot more, and I do find that to be very enjoyable. Plus, I'm doing what I've always wanted to do, with some extra time, which is watching more TV, relaxing more, doing a few other things, not just reading books, which has been really nice also, because it's kind of given me it's allowed me I've always appreciated reading, but I appreciate it so much more when I can go out and do other things and then come back to the reading as kind of a safe haven. So whether or not I'm going to continue the TBR videos is kind of still up to debate in my mind, but I do feel they do kind of give me an itinerary, especially if I get stuck after reading a book and I'm kind of oh, what do I pick up next? I mean, and there's so much I want to read, that sometimes when you have too much to read, it's hard to figure out what you want to pick up next. So this at least gives me kind of some idea, a little bit narrowed down option to choose from should I get stuck in between reads. So I'm going to go ahead now and get into what I'm hoping to read in the month of June. Actually already in the middle of a couple of books right now. I was actually in the mood to read a standalone fantasy. This is The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst, and this is a very interesting fantasy. I'm about 100 pages into it right now as we're speaking, and I'm really enjoying it so far. The main character, Kreia, she is considered a bone maker, and something happened a while back and her husband was killed, and she now reanimates him as often as she can. But what she needs to reanimate him is human bones. Human bones are banned from being used for anything because they consider human bones sacred. Now, what bone makers typically use is animal bones. That's the norm. It's actually considered kind of evil to use human bones. She's not trying to kill anybody, and she's only doing it with the purposes of trying to reanimate her husband full time so that she can be with him. Well, she's devised a plan on how to do that, but she's going to need some help, a few from her past from over 25 years ago. So I'm really excited to read this one and continue on with this. Me and Tiffy E are currently buddy reading this, and I'm a little bit further ahead than she is, but so far I'm really enjoying this and I'm really excited. I'm probably going to be trying to read at least 100 pages a day of this because it's really, really awesome. It's about 500 pages and it's written very well and very clearly and concisely, and I really like the magic building, and it seems like it's really steady plot, so very excited for this. Because I like to balance myself out with everything that I'm reading, I just picked up Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. This book just came out on June 1st. This is one of my highly anticipated releases. This is what the cover actually looks like, and it is stunning. Like, actually, this cover is what drew me to this book because I just think it is beautiful. The main character, Evie, has kind of been tainted. She doesn't believe in love anymore. She used to read a lot of contemporary romance, and she's unhauled all of those books because she just doesn't believe in it anymore. After her father cheats on her mom and deserts them for his new family, she's really lost faith in love. So something happens and she starts getting visions of these couples, like as they kiss, about their entire future and how their relationship's going to end up, and she's trying to figure out desperately how to fix it. One day she goes to a little book area, and this book called Instructions for Dancing kind of falls at her feet and gives her the address for a dance studio. So she's urged strongly to go investigate this. I am about 60 pages into this so far, and when I read The Sun Is Also a Star, it's like it's like now one of my favorite books of all time. So when I saw that she was coming out with another book, I knew I had to get this. So I'm really enjoying this so far. Like, I think this is such a cute contemporary read, and it's so adorable, and I absolutely love it so far. So far, like, it hasn't gone like into a lot of the deeply penetrating emotional aspects like that The Sun Is Also a Star did, which is one of the reasons why I love The Sun Is Also a Star, because it like really deep dives and is very like hard hitting. But there are some hard hitting aspects about this so far that I am really enjoying. So another book that I am right in the middle of right now also, which I've actually been listening to on audiobook since last month, is The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris. She is the same author that published Slay. And I love Slay. Like, Slay was so good. Like, it was just amazing, and I really love like the video game aspect and everything about it. So when I saw that she was coming out with another book called The Cost of Knowing, I knew for a fact that this was a book that I had to dig into. And I'm actually only about 2 hours away from finishing it because like that was like one of my goals for the month, was to finish that audiobook and start another one. And it all circulates around 16-year-old Alex Rufus, who's currently like living with his aunt, I believe. She is their caretaker after their parents and him and his little brother got into a bad car accident that left him able to see the future if he touches things, which kind of like, leads to him contemplating like, well, how can I change things, making him fearful for the future because some of the things that he sees he doesn't want to have come into play. So a lot of things are kind of at work here, and it's really interesting and fascinating because it kind of toys with the idea that, or what could you possibly do differently to prevent the future outcome from happening if you knew what was going to happen, and would you feel powerless, or would you be able to do anything about it or anything else like that. So it's kind of playing like with those kind of ideals. Sorry about that, I had to change my battery because batteries keep dying. So a bunch of new books came out in the month of June. I've been very overwhelmed, so my goal for this month was to try to focus on new releases. So one of the big new releases that came out for fans of Red, White, and Royal Blue, it's One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I adored Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is a sapphic novel. I loved Red, White, and Royal Blue so much. It was very political, very politically correct, very loving, very affectionate, and it's something like that, just something I really just think about all the time now, ever since I read the book like when it first came out. Honestly, like all I know is like it's about two women that meet on a train in the middle of New York City. And when they announced like Casey McQuiston was going to be writing this, I didn't really need to know anything else other than that, because I loved Red, White, and Royal Blue so much. Like, I felt like this was going to be a book like that I was going to love, especially like this was like the perfect month to bring it out because this month is Pride Month. So I'm really excited to dig into this, and I'm hoping to get into this before the end of the month. If not by the end of this month, I will definitely have it read by no later than July. It just depends like on what I can get to this month, given that I'm like slowly reading through things. Also, this is a book like that I've been hearing, like everybody's been reading like this book like right now, and I'm trying to stay away from the reviews until after I get to this because I don't want to be spoiled for anything. Another book that came out on June 1st is The Chosen and the Beautiful by Ngugi Vao. And this is supposed to be a sapphic Asian retelling of The Great Gatsby. I haven't actually read The Great Gatsby book. I watched the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I realized that they used a lot of the poise that was in the original novel, The Great Gatsby. So I thought it was very beautifully done. So when I heard like about this, I knew that I had to, this is another book that I'm going to have to read very soon, because I like the concept of The Great Gatsby, even though it is a very heartbreaking concept, but it's just also a perfect book to read during Pride Month. But like, can we just take like 5 seconds and just like lovingly gaze at this cover, because I haven't been able to stop looking at it since I saw it. It's just beautiful. So NetGalley originally like rejected me for this one, which I was really kind of, you know, disappointed about, but they have approved me for quite a few others, so I guess I can't complain because like I'm still drowning in ARCs from NetGalley. But I have been dying to read this one since I saw it. To me, like, this cover really reminds me of Ziggy Stardust and Me, and that book was amazing, and I'm waiting. I was like, I saw this cover, and honestly, like, yes, this was a cover buy for me, because like I was drawn to it because of the cover, because it reminded me like a little bit like of the color scheme and everything else, like of Ziggy Stardust and Me. But the concept was what really got me. This is about two boys like that are drifting through space. They are sworn enemies. Enemies to lovers trope. My favorite. My absolute favorite. And they get a distress call from Titan, and they have to go answer it. And the only like way that they will be able to accomplish this rescue mission is if they work together. You say enemies to lovers for me, and I'm sold. Like, that is like my favorite trope of all time. Like, to me, all other tropes pale in comparison when it comes to enemies to lovers. So I'm so excited for this, and I'm definitely gonna be getting to that one soon also. So a couple books like that I was like looking at just because I think that they're going to be fabulous, and they didn't come out in June, but this is Dowry of Blood. This is a sapphic retelling of Dracula, and this has been going around BookTube now and Book Twitter and everything, and everybody who's read it has really seemed to enjoy it. And me being the vampire enthusiast that I am, saw it and realized like that I couldn't live with myself if I didn't read this book. So I saw it and I'm just like, oh, and it's kind of been like in the back of my mind for quite a while, but then I just went ahead and ordered it because like it's a sapphic retelling having to do with Dracula's brides. So I think this is going to be really good. And it's not very long at all, and the writing's not very small, so this is something that I'll definitely breeze through. Another book that I'm hoping to get to came out in the month of May, and I'm so excited about that. It is the Anthropocene Review by John Green, and I've been pretty big John Green fan for quite a while. So this is his very first book that relates to nonfiction, and it's a collection of essays. From what I can gather, that kind of is a cumulative of the human experience. So I am so excited for this. I think this is just going to be a beautiful story. Like, I think these are going to be like a lot of like really beautiful stories, and I have heard hankering on TikTok a little bit reading out of this book, and it just makes me all the more excited to get to it because I just think it's going to be a beautiful, wonderful experience. So I'm trying to keep up with my ARCs from NetGalley. Like, I actually had to come up with a game plan because I've got like, about 7 or 8 books like that I still have to read that I've been approved for on NetGalley. So this is one like that I feel like I have to get to this month. It's called Foretold by Violet Lumini, and it's The Scryer's #1. This is the first book in a series. This was actually like what drew me like to this was the mental illness rep, along with the fact that it was told a fantasy world. So the premise for this is Cassandra sees death and devastation all around her in vivid detail. It's the price of living with her OCD and extreme anxiety. In every situation, Cass imagines the worst possible fate for everyone in her life. Her dad in a pool of blood after a break-in. Her beloved older neighbor, homeless, a splinter in her finger turned to gangrene. But this time, it's not her imagination. The boy next door, Colin, is destined to die. Cass has foretold a real death before. She knows this is a true vision. Desperate to save Colin's life, Cass immerses herself in a secret organization of soothsayers that promises to teach her how to change the future she foresees. But as she descends into their hidden world of divinatory magic and predictive technology, she discovers there's always a price to pay for unraveling fate's strands. And cheating death will cost her everything. So actually, like, this was one of those books like that was on an instant read. And so I saw it and I really wanted to I wanted to at least try it out because it's not one of those ones like that's very well known, but it does have a 4.07 review rating on Goodreads, so I'm hoping like that it will be as good as it seems like the reviews have kind of led me to believe that it's going to be good. And you know, we'll see how it goes. Like, I mean, like, at this point, like, worst case scenario, like, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with DNFing books. So as long as I'm enjoying it, I won't DNF it. But I'm so here, like, you know, to enjoy what I'm reading, like, now and not push myself, like, if I'm just not enjoying it. I'm trying to get more comfortable, like, with feeling okay about DNFing, because DNFing is kind of hard for me because, like, I have major FOMO, like, when it comes to DNFing. Like, I always think that I'm going to miss out on it getting better. And in history has taught me like that it doesn't get better, like it just kind of like gets to be more disappointing as time goes on if I'm not already enjoying a book. So we'll see. The last book that I'm hoping to read in the month of July, I know this is a huge TBR, I would be surprised if I got to all of this, but it's The Torch Against the Night, which is the second book in the Ember and the Ashes series. They're doing a read-along currently, and I've been dying to finish this series because the series was one that I started when it first came out, like, so many years ago, and I kind of lost, not interest, but like steam power, I guess you could say, to read it because it took so long for them to come out with the third one, and then it took them a really long time to come out with the fourth one, which no complaints, because if you have to take a little bit of extra time to not make it like disappointing and do justice to the rest of the series, I would rather you do that than hurry up and release it and then like me just feel like I've wasted my time reading it. But I've been dying to read this series. So I originally had read The Torch Against the Night in this series when it first came out also, but it's been so long that I don't really remember a ton about it. I just remember like that I did enjoy it almost as much as I enjoyed Ember and the Ashes, and this is a continuation on with our two main characters, and also and if I remember right, it was also told from a third perspective, which was one of the side characters in the first book. So I'm really excited to also be getting into this because they are doing a read-along for this, and they're doing one book a month. So I will hopefully be able to finish this series finally after all of this time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys like this video. If you guys like this video, hit the little like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon if you guys want to receive emails every single time I post. I'm also on Amazon, Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter. Those links are linked in the description below, and I hope you guys will join us for the Malice Readathon that's coming up next month. Please join us for that. It's going to be so much fun. There's we have a lot of people interested right now, and I think it's going to be like a really like great celebration of a book series that's supposed to be amazing. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you guys will join me for my next videos.